Today we're going to take a look at this lazy wheel motif. Now this motif uses several different stitches and techniques to create this textured and multi-directional motif, and I'm going to walk you through all the steps you need to make this motif right now. So our lazy wheel motif begins with a chain 17, which I've already started here, I've already completed I should say, and we're going to join with a slip stitch into the 8th chain from the hook. So not counting the loop on the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to join with a slip stitch, insert my hook there, and just draw through some yarn. So now we have a little ring and a tail, and we're actually going to work into this chain 9 tail for the first round. So the first round begins with 1 SC in the first chain. So we're not going to work into that chain where we made the slip stitch. Our first chain is going to be the very next one here. So that's my 1 SC, then 1 HDC in the next chain, half double crochet, 1 DC or double crochet in the next chain, then 2 DC in the next chain, then 1 DC in the next chain, then I'm going to work 2 treble crochet stitches in the next chain. So that's yarn over the hook twice before inserting into your chain, and then yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn through 2 loops and 2 loops. So it's 2 trebles in this chain, yarn over hook twice, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn over, draw through 2 loops. There's my 2 treble crochet stitches. Then 1 treble crochet in the next chain, and now we're going to work 2 DTR stitches, or 2 double treble crochet stitches in the next chain. So that's yarn over your hook 1, 2, 3 times before inserting into your chain, and then as before we're going to yarn over hook and draw through 2 loops at a time, yarn over, draw through 2 loops until we just have the 1 loop on our hook. So I'm going to work that twice, 2 double treble crochet stitches into that chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, and then 1 double treble stitch in our last chain of that chain 9 tail. So what we've done here is worked from single crochet, a short stitch, to a double treble crochet, a tall stitch, and increased along the way, and that's created this curve and created our fabric going from a narrow piece to a very tall piece. So for our second row, we're not going to turn the work, we're going to work from left to right instead of from right to left as we normally would for this second row. And we're going to work 1 reverse SC in each of the next 12 stitches. So every stitch along here we're going to work 1 reverse single crochet stitch, and I'll show you how to do that. First we're going to work our turning chain, chain 1, and then we're also working into the front loops only of each stitch. So if you look at the top of my work, normally we're working into both of these loops here. I'm just going to remove my hook so you can see. That's where we normally work our stitches. For this row, we're going to work just into that front loop, the one that's facing you. So I've worked my turning chain, and now I'm going to work 1 reverse SC. So reverse SC is just making a single crochet stitch, but we're working from left to right instead of right to left. So I'm going to insert my hook into that first stitch. It can be a little tricky to work backwards, and I'm just working into the front loop. I'm going to drop a loop, and then yarn over hook and draw through those 2 loops. So that's 1 reverse single crochet made. And I'm going to do that all the way across, working into the front loops only, 1 reverse single crochet stitch. And this process of working in a different direction does something really interesting. It makes this neat corded effect along your work. It's really simple, and it's a really nice stitch to have in your arsenal of stitches. It's good for finishing blankets and all kinds of things. And we're working into the first, or the front loop only, because you'll see in the next row we're going to work into that remaining back loop. So I think I've got all my stitches there. And make sure you don't work into your turning chain, just the 12 stitches. So you can see I've got a really neat cord running along the top of this petal. So this essentially is the petal, or the spoke, first spoke of our wheel. So that's the end of the second row. And now we're going to change colors. So I'm just going to put this aside, this yarn aside. I'm not going to cut the yarn. And to put it aside, I'm just going to drop a long loop and remove my hook. So that's just so that there's less of a chance of accidentally yanking that yarn and losing my stitch. If you're really worried about losing it, you can put a safety pin on there just to secure it. But if you pull it a long loop, you should be okay. So that's the end of our second row. For the third row of our lazy wheel, I'm going to join a new color and make a second petal along this first petal. So to join my new color, I'm going to actually join into this ring. I'm just going to insert my hook and join my next color with a slip stitch into that ring. And I'm joining it above or to the right, depending on how you're looking at it, the petal that I just made. So there I've joined my new color. And now I'm going to be working into the remaining back loops of our first round. So we worked into the front loops for the second row, and now we're going to work into the remaining back loops. So you can just pull that row of reverse C forward and it reveals your back loops. It's a little easier to work that way. And we're basically working the same stitches that we worked in our first row. So working into the remaining back loops, I'm going to work 1 SC in the first stitch, 1 HDC in the next stitch, 1 DC in the next stitch, oops, then 2 DC in my next stitch, then 1 DC in my next stitch, two treble crochet stitches in the next stitch. So remember, that's yarn over your hook twice before inserting into your stitch. One treble crochet in the next stitch. Oh, I think I worked a double there. See, it's easy to just undo things when you make a mistake with crochet. That's a nice thing. 1 stitch at a time. So 1 treble crochet, yarn over twice before inserting into your stitch. Then 2 DTR, or double treble crochet stitches, into the next stitch. So that's yarn over 1, 2, 3 times before inserting into your stitch. So we're making taller and taller stitches as we go along. going to finish off with one double treble stitch. In that last, well, it's not our last stitch. It's the last stitch of our row, but we've got a few stitches left here, and we're going to leave those unworked. Our fourth row is going to be exactly as we worked our second row. It's this reverse SC row. We're just going to do it with our new color along the top of the third row here. So I'm going to work a turning chain, and I'm working from from left to right instead of from right to left. And I'm going to work one reverse SC in the front loop only of each of these 12 stitches. So again, we're just going to move the hook into that front loop, drop a loop, yarn over, draw through those 2 loops on the hook. So it's just an SC, but we're working into the front loop only, and we're working from left to right. And one more stitch here. Okay, so that's the end of our fourth row, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did at the end of the second row. I'm going to drop a long loop, take out my hook, and put it aside. So we're just going to repeat those third and fourth rows to create 12 petals, alternating colors to create 12 petals, and they will just naturally form a circle as they go around. I'll show you that later. So when we want to pick up our first color again, all you need to do is insert your hook into that loop, tighten it, and then I'm going to make a slip stitch into the ring, and then begin working that third row into the back loops. And we do the same thing over and over until we have our 12 petals. So here I have my 12 petals, or 12 spokes of the wheel completed, and I've sewn the last petal to the first petal. So if you cut your yarn when you've finished your last petal and leave a long tail, you can use that tail to sew your petals together. So it's along one of these lines. It's so seamless, and you can't even tell. So now we're going to work our border, which is going to take this circle into a square. I'm going to join my third color. So this is the edging, the first round of the edging. I'm going to join that with a slip stitch to any of the double treble stitches at the end of the petals. So I'm just going to use this one. I'm going to insert my hook. There's my slip stitch. I'm going to chain one. Then I'm going to work one SC in the very same space that I joined with the slip stitch, and then chain 7. Then I'm going to make one SC in the double treble stitch at the top of the next petal, and repeat all the way around. So chain 7, and then one single crochet stitch in the top of the next petal in that double treble stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and join the next petal. So you would do that all the way around, and when you get to the end of the round, you're gonna SC in this last petal, chain 7, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of your first SC. Okay, now I have my first round of my edging complete. These chain 7 spaces are what we're going to work into for our second round. So the second round, we're going to work into the space over here, our first chain 7 space. So I'm going to make a slip stitch into that chain 7 space just to get over there. And now it begins with a chain 1, then 4 single crochet, 4 half double crochet in that first chain 7 space. There we go. And now in the next chain space, I'm going to work what's going to become our corner. So to do that, I'm going to work 2 DC or double crochet, 2 treble crochet stitches. So yarn over the hook twice before inserting into your space. Then a chain 2. So that chain 2 is the very tippy top of our corner. Then I'm going to work those stitches in reverse. So by that, I'm going to do 2 treble crochet stitches, and 2 double crochet stitches, and this is all worked into the very same chain 7 space. And there you can see a corner has started to form. Now you can see my stitches are all kind of pushed over to the side here, to the right hand side, but that's the nice thing about working in chain spaces. You can just slide your stitches along that chain to even them out. Now I'm going to work into the next chain 7 space. I'm going to work 4 HDC and 4 SC. I'll just get a little more yarn here. For HDC and for SC in that chain 7 space, and we're always skipping these SCs. We're only working into the chain spaces. In the next chain space, I'm going to work 4 SC and then 4 HDC. I'm just going to slide my stitches to even them out. And now we've come to our next corner. I'm going to work that the same way. I'm going to work 2 DC, then 2 treble crochet stitches, chain 2, 2 treble, two double crochet stitches. And that's my second corner. So I'm just going to draw up a loop so that I can show this to you. So we're repeating from there, and you can see how this is going to form. We've got our 2DC, 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble, 2 DC in each corner, and then 4 HDC, 4 single crochet, 4 single crochet, 4 HDC, and it's that moving from tall stitches to short stitches that squares off our motif. And here I've come to the last stitch of the second round of our edging, and I'm just going to make a slip stitch into the first SC we made to join the round, and then I'm going to do the exciting part, cut our yarn because we're finished, and fasten off. You can weave in the ends, and there you have our completed lazy wheel motif, and with a little blocking you can make that even more square. So that's it for our lazy wheel.